The evening light stretched long across the land. The air felt warm as the day prepared to close. Isaac stood at the edge of the field with a quiet anticipation rising in his chest, and the horizon before him seemed to hold a story he had not yet entered. And the silence around him carried the weight of a moment that would shape the rest of his life. He breathed slowly as the wind moved through the tall grass, and he felt the ache of years spent waiting for something he could not name, and he sensed that the path ahead was shifting beneath his feet. The sky glowed with the soft colors of dusk, as if creation itself was preparing for a turning point, and the quiet around him felt charged, and the moment felt sacred. You know this kind of moment, because you know the loneliness of carrying a hope for the future while facing the struggle of feeling unseen and emotionally alone. This longing is familiar. Far away, Rebecca traveled with a heart full of questions, and she felt the weight of leaving everything she had known, and she felt the tremble of stepping into a destiny she could not predict. Her spirit carried the tension of excitement and fear, and her heart carried the ache of stepping into the unknown. And her soul carried the quiet courage of a woman who sensed that her life was about to change. She looked toward the horizon. It felt vast. The caravan moved slowly across the land as the day faded, and the silence wrapped around her like a reminder that destiny often begins in uncertainty, and the quiet seemed to whisper that she was walking toward a story written long before she understood it. She stood between her past and her future, and she stood between what she had known and what she hoped to find. And she stood between the comfort of familiarity and the call of something greater. You know this place because you know what it feels like to stand at the crossroads of a life you have not lived yet. And you know what it feels like to carry the weight of a future you cannot see. And you know what it feels like to step forward even when your heart trembles. Have you felt this tension in your own journey? Please like this video to help support more faith-building Bible episodes like this one. Application 1. The struggle. There are moments in life when you stand at the edge of something new. And there are moments when you feel the pull of a future you cannot predict. And there are moments when you sense that the next step you take will shape everything that comes after. You move through your days with a steady face, yet your heart feels like it is standing at a crossroads where one decision could change your entire story. This tension is real. It is deep. You carry the weight of wanting to choose well, and you carry the quiet ache of wanting to move forward, and you carry the emotional strain of wanting to trust what you cannot see. You show up with hope even when your spirit feels uncertain. And you show up with courage even when your heart feels unsteady. And you show up with resolve even when your soul feels tired. You do this because you believe there is more ahead. You do this because you sense something shifting. You do this because something inside you refuses to stay where you are. But the truth is simple. You feel alone. You feel like the only one who understands the pressure of the decision before you. And you feel like the only one who carries the weight of the unknown. And you feel like the only one who stands in the quiet space where longing and uncertainty collide. This loneliness does not shout. It hums. It follows you into the office, where the glow of the screen reflects the tension in your eyes. And it follows you into the car, where the silence feels heavier than the road ahead. And it follows you into the night, when your thoughts refuse to settle. You wonder if anyone sees the crossroads you are standing at, and you wonder if anyone understands the pressure you feel. And you wonder if anyone notices the strength it takes to keep moving. These questions linger. They do not leave quickly. You ask yourself if you are ready for what comes next. And you ask yourself if you are choosing the right path. And you ask yourself if you are the only one who feels this way. You have been waiting for so long that you have forgotten how to step forward without fear. And you have been hoping for so long that you have forgotten how to breathe without pressure. And you have been longing for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to trust the unknown. This is the quiet burden of the one who stands at the crossroads. This is the ache of the one who carries the future. This is the weight of the one who must choose without certainty. But here is the truth your heart needs to hear. Your uncertainty does not mean you are unprepared, and your trembling does not mean you are weak, and your hesitation does not mean you are alone. Your uncertainty is the echo of your depth, and your trembling is the evidence of your courage. And your hesitation is the quiet proof that you are standing in a moment that matters. You are stepping into a story that requires bravery, and you are walking toward a future that requires trust, and you are carrying a hope that requires strength. This matters deeply. It matters more than you know. Here is your first gentle step. Take 5 minutes today to acknowledge the crossroads you are standing at, and let this moment be a small act of honesty for your soul. If this is speaking to you, consider subscribing so you do not miss the next episode. Application 2. This shift. There comes a moment in every searching heart when the uncertainty you carry begins to reshape. The way you see yourself and the longing you feel begins to whisper doubts that do not belong to your story. And the silence you experience begins to convince you that you are standing at this crossroads without support. You begin to believe that your hesitation is weakness, and you begin to believe that your questions are flaws. And you begin to believe that your uncertainty is proof that you are not ready. These thoughts settle quietly. They settle deeply. You start to see your life through the lens of fear rather than possibility. And you start to see your heart through the lens of doubt rather than courage. And you start to see your future through the lens of isolation rather than intention. But something begins to shift when you look at your crossroads through a different light. And something begins to change when you realize that your uncertainty is not the absence of direction, but the space where trust begins. And something begins to awaken when you understand that the path you are stepping into is not random, but woven with purpose. Isaac walked through the field with a heart full of longing, yet he was not wandering. And Rebekah traveled across the land with a heart full of questions, yet she was not lost, and both of them moved toward a moment neither of them could see. Their uncertainty was not a sign of divine silence. It was a sign of divine orchestration. This truth matters. You've been looking at your crossroads through the lens of your own sight, and you have been interpreting your hesitation through the lens of your own emotions, and you have been measuring your readiness through the lens of your own fear. But God sees differently. God sees the courage beneath your questions, and God sees the strength beneath your hesitation, and God sees the depth beneath your longing. You see your uncertainty as instability. God sees it as openness. You see your hesitation as weakness. God sees it as wisdom. You see your longing as emptiness. God sees it as preparation. This is the shift. It changes everything. When you begin to see your crossroads through God's sight, the fear does not vanish, but the meaning becomes clearer. And the purpose becomes deeper, and the loneliness becomes less overwhelming. You begin to understand that you are not standing here because you are lost, but because you are being positioned, and you are not hesitating because you are weak, but because you care deeply about what comes next, and you are not questioning because you are confused, but because you are stepping into a future that requires intention. This is not uncertainty. This is alignment. This is sacred. Your heart has been carrying the pressure of choosing well, and the pressure of stepping forward without clarity, and the pressure of trusting what you cannot see. But you are not the only one in this moment. You are not the only one in this silence. You are not the only one at this crossroads. God is standing with you, and God is guiding you, and God is shaping the path ahead, even when you cannot feel it. This is the truth that begins to loosen the tension in your chest. This is the truth that begins to steady the tremble in your spirit. This is the truth that begins to restore your confidence. Here is your gentle step for today. Whisper a simple prayer that does not ask for answers but acknowledges your desire to trust. And let this be the beginning of seeing your crossroads through God's sight rather than your own. If this is speaking to you, consider subscribing so you do not miss the next episode. Application 3. there comes a moment when the longing you carry begins to transform, and the uncertainty that once felt overwhelming begins to soften, and the crossroads that once felt intimidating begins to feel like an invitation. This moment does not arrive with sudden clarity, and it does not arrive with dramatic revelation, and it does not arrive with instant certainty. It arrives slowly. It arrives gently. It arrives like the moment Isaac lifted his eyes and saw Rebekah approaching in the distance. You begin to realize that the waiting you endured has shaped you in ways you did not expect. And you begin to see that your longing has carved out space for something meaningful. And you begin to understand that your hesitation has created room for wisdom to grow. You begin to see that your questions have softened your heart, and your uncertainty has deepened your trust, and your longing has prepared you for what is coming. This realization matters. It changes the way you breathe. You start to feel a quiet confidence rising within you. And you start to feel a gentle courage awakening in your spirit. And you start to feel a sense of anticipation settling over the places where fear once lived. You begin to understand that you are not stepping into this future because you are certain, but because you are called, and you are not moving forward because you have all the answers, but because you trust the one who does. This is the breakthrough. This is the moment when your crossroads becomes a place of possibility rather than pressure, and your longing becomes a place of hope rather than ache, and your uncertainty becomes a place of trust rather than fear. Your heart begins to open. Your spirit begins to rise. Your soul begins to lean forward. You realize that the God who brought Isaac and Rebekah together at the perfect moment is the same God who is guiding your steps. And the God who orchestrated their meeting is the same God who is shaping your future with intention. And the God who aligned their paths is the same God who is aligning yours. You are not forgotten. You are not unseen. You are not unsupported. You are held. This is the moment when hope begins to return. And this is the moment when strength begins to rise. And this is the moment when peace begins to settle into the places where fear once lived. You begin to understand that your role as a gap stander is not a burden you carry alone, but a calling you share with the God who walks beside you. This truth brings steadiness. This truth brings clarity. This truth brings peace. Here is your gentle step for today. Speak one sentence of courage over yourself, and let it be a reminder that you are not standing at this crossroads alone. And let it be a declaration that your story is still unfolding in ways you cannot yet see. Do you have anything to add to the conversation? Please add your voice to the comments below. The closing prayer. Father, I come before you with a steady heart, and I come before you with a spirit that has carried the weight of decisions. And I come before you with a longing for direction that only your presence can provide. I lift before you the one who has walked through this message, and I lift before you the crossroads they are standing at. And I lift before you the quiet tension that has settled into the deeper places of their soul. You see them fully. You know them deeply. You understand them completely. Lord, you know the burden they carry from the moments when the future feels uncertain. And you know the questions that have followed them into their days. And you know the longing that has rested on their heart in the quiet hours of the night. You have watched them stand in places where clarity felt distant. And you have watched them hold steady when their heart felt unprepared. And you have watched them move forward even when their spirit felt unsure. They have not been alone in these moments. They have never been alone. I ask that you breathe confidence into the places where fear has lived. And I ask that you breathe clarity into the places where confusion has settled. And I ask that you breathe courage into the places where hesitation has taken root. Let your presence surround them like a gentle guide. And let your nearness become the quiet strength that steadies their spirit. And let your voice become the soft reassurance that they are seen and valued and held. This is their moment of direction. This is their moment of peace. Father, remind them that their longing has never been ignored, and remind them that their questions have never been dismissed, and remind them that their uncertainty has never been misunderstood. You have been with them in every searching moment, and you have been with them in every hidden ache, and you have been with them in every breath that felt heavy with possibility. You have walked beside them with patience, Blue. You have carried them with intention, Blue. You have loved them with a love that does not fail. I ask that you lift the weight from their shoulders, and I ask that you strengthen the places where they feel unsure, and I ask that you restore the places where they feel worn. Let hope rise gently within them, and let courage awaken slowly within them, and let peace settle deeply within them. Let them feel the truth that they are not standing at this crossroads alone. And let them feel the truth that you are guiding their steps. And let them feel the truth that your presence is their direction and their strength. This truth brings steadiness. This truth brings rest. Lord, guide their steps in the days ahead, and guide their thoughts when the uncertainty whispers again, and guide their heart when the tension feels heavy. Remind them that they are held by a love that does not falter, and remind them that they are supported by a strength that does not fade, and remind them that they are surrounded by a presence that does not leave. Let this assurance settle into their spirit like a quiet light on a dim path. It brings confidence, it brings clarity, it brings peace. I pray that you bless them with moments of unexpected direction, and I pray that you bless them with reminders of your nearness. And I pray that you bless them with the quiet confidence that they are walking with you even when the future feels uncertain. Let their heart rest in your faithfulness, and let their soul breathe in your goodness, and let their spirit rise in your strength. This is their moment of renewal. This is their moment of peace. In the quiet of this prayer, let them feel your guidance. In the stillness of this moment, let them feel your presence. In the depth of their spirit, let them feel your peace. Amen. May clarity rise before you, and may courage steady you. And may the presence of God guide your steps in every crossroads of your journey.